Hi, everybody, and welcome tonight to the Healer's Journey, Magic, Medicine, and Miracles. This is the second webinar in the Healer's Journey webinar series, and thank you all for being here. I really appreciate you being here. Just wanted to say that for you, you know me. This is me, Rosemary, and my dog Gracie in the picture. For those of you who can see, who are just listening in, and you know that I'm the author of Heal Together, Natural Health Solutions for Animals and Their Humans. I'm an author, a Reiki master of many modalities, and a practicing shaman as well. And of course, I always start out with a disclaimer. And this information expressed and presented through this webinar is not a substitute for medical care and is in no way meant to diagnose, prescribe, treat, or cure disease. It is also not religious, nor a prescription or recommendation for alternative care, but rather purely for personal knowledge and growth. And it's, you know, sometimes I feel a little resentful that I have to say this disclaimer, but you know what? It's okay. We just want to open it up for all the possibilities of what it is rather than what it's not. And last time, if you were with us, we had a few terms we were using in the webinar, and so I'm just going to briefly go over those again, and I'm going to add a new term as well. The first term is healer. The term healer is meant as a facilitator for helping to provide the opportunity and conditions through which people may heal themselves or receive awareness on how to do so. The term medicine is used in this presentation does not in any way refer to modern clinical or pharmacological treatments for disease. Medicine in this text refers to something that helps restore a state of harmony and peace. It can be an object, a skill, or knowledge, an intention, or a practice. Magic, of course, we'll be talking about both medicine and magic quite a bit today. The term magic used in this presentation does not refer to entertainment, deception, sleight of hand, or the use of spells or charms for manipulation of a desired outcome. Magic in this text refers to the gifts and talents we all have, divinely guided and used for the greatest and highest good. The greatest and highest good refers to intentions that help guide us. These intentions help fortify our medicine, our practices and knowledge, and do not necessarily divert death, trauma, or illness for anyone. Now, one more term I'm adding today, miracles. The dictionary describes miracles as an effect or extraordinary event in the physical world that surpasses all known human or natural powers and is ascribed to a supernatural cause, a work of God, a wonder, or marvel. But I like to think of miracles as normal, natural, everyday events. Even though we can't explain how or why something happens, when we are in alignment with all that is, in other words, God or Buddha or Mother Gaia or spiritual of the highest being, the universe, God energy, we provide for the purest expression of God in ourselves, all events, things, beings, thoughts, words, and actions. In addition, using the word normal doesn't minimize anything. Instead, we bring to light what we may frequently take for granted in everything from how cells work to why stars shine. So this definition of miracles, or this thought I have on miracles, is that this is an everyday thing. And we can't explain it, but we're not going to say, oh, this is extraordinary, oh, this is a supernatural thing. It's what we're supposed to have, miracles, every day, all the time, normal. So in our first webinar of the Healer's Journey, we talked about your story and being able to recognize yourself as a healer. Your story might have included experiences and interactions that showed empathy, sensitivity, understanding, and knowledge in all aspects of life, your love of animals and the planet, your love of being in nature and feeling connected to earth energies support your well-being. Now, if you haven't already done so, you can review our first webinar in the Healer's Journey Learning Series, then follow up with downloads and exercises available to you. In order to access these tools, be sure to confirm your registration on my website, secondnaturehealing.com/webinar.html. And I'll show that to you again later. When you do, you'll receive all the webinars and downloadable materials directly by email at regular intervals for as long as we continue the series. The second webinar in the Healer's Journey series, that's this one, is intended to bring to mind talents and gifts you have and invite you to share your experiences as well. Through the course of the next 30 to 40 minutes, I hope you'll recognize some of the ideas presented here as personal traits and that you're not alone. In addition, I hope you'll want to continue to move forward with your healing abilities, to use them with more intention and purpose. At the end of the presentation, I'll share with you a few tools to help you get started, as well as a chance to learn more. In addition, I'll be following up next week with another webinar in the Healer's Journey series to touch upon another aspect of what it means to be a healer in today's world and offer additional tools for you to integrate. There's always an opportunity to reach out for personal mentorship, supportive classes, or intuitively guided healing sessions. I'll share with you how to do that at the end of the webinar. Now first, just a few housekeeping details, a few things that you should know. The lines are muted now. If you want to unmute your line to say something, to ask a question, or comment on one of the stories we have, you can, if you're on the phone, hit *6, and that will unmute your line. And you can *6 again, and you'll be muted again. Or if you're online, there's a picture of a microphone, and you can click that, and it will mute you or unmute you. Okay? And so I just want to honor everybody's time. I want to make sure that we stay on time and allow for plenty of interaction that will answer your questions. All right? So ready? Let's get started. As we continue with your story, I'd like you to reflect on any statements that resonate with you in some way. Now, I've separated this story into sections. Actually, there are many stories in tonight's webinar. You can add to it or change it to fit your story. Don't worry if you miss something. I'll send this story as a document to everyone who's registered for the webinar. And you'll also have an opportunity to share your story with others here today. So what magic do you bring to your medicine? Now that question in itself, I hope has you thinking. We're talking about magic, your gifts and talents, and your medicine, that's skills and knowledge and your way of doing things, your way of being in the world. In the following excerpts, make note of the gifts and talents, the magic. We're going to identify what the magic is. And you may also note skills, knowledge, a practice or an intention to help restore peace and harmony. In other words, the medicine. I'll read the first one, then offer examples of the magic and medicine represented in it. And when we're done, you can unmute your line and offer your ideas. And we'll do this for each story. The goal is to help you see the magic, the gifts and talents in yourself and in others. Also, these gifts and talents are supported with learning new skills. gaining knowledge, practice, and experience. So here's the first story. When I was little, I found a bird that was nearly dead. It had crashed into a window of our house. My mother wouldn't let me bring it inside, so I created a comfortable box with towels to help keep it warm through the night. The next day, however, the bird was dead, and I cried my heart out. I was inconsolable at the loss of this wild creature. Later, I buried the bird in our yard near some beautiful irises to mark the place and offer prayers for its spirit. So that's the first story. Share with me, and you can open your line if you'd like to share with me. Share with me what you perceive to be that child's magic, that child's gifts and talents, and what medicine that child had. Anybody want to give it a try?
I would say compassion.
Mm-hmm. Compassion as magic, yes?
Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm. What else is going on? Imagine that child and what the child is doing, preparing the box, wanting to keep the bird safe and warm.
Protection.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Protection. How about nurturing?
Right.
Yeah, nurturing, caring. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that child is sensitive as well? Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, very sensitive. Okay. Great. That's great. Anybody else want to talk about the magic that they hear in that story? That's actually quite a bit. You're doing great. How about the medicine? What kind of medicine, what skills, knowledge, or practice did that child do?
Prayers for the spirit.
Yeah, prayers. Uh-huh. Anything else?
Burying it near, what the child perceived as beautiful irises.
Uh-huh. Yes.
A beautiful place for burial.
Yes. So perhaps creating some sacred space.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Honor, tradition, creating a ceremony. So good job. Those are a few ideas that I wrote down, and add yours as well. The magic, being sensitive, compassionate, nurturing, caring, spiritual. The medicine, creating ceremony, honor, tradition, prayer. And all of these are something that this child had. Do you see that in yourself? That's what I'm going to ask you to do with each one of these stories. Do you see that in yourself as well? Do you see it in other people? All right. Good job. Okay, next story. Story number 2. I feel the same way about trees. When I go for a walk, I enjoy seeing the hawks screeching from the treetops. Later, when developers clear the land, destroying habitat for wildlife, I find myself crying once again. Now that I'm older, I haven't changed the way I feel about living creatures, plants and animals. I like to make sure I offer a place in my garden that helps sustain wildlife. Now, share with me what you perceive to be that person's magic and medicine. Any ideas on that? I'll put it back up. What's their magic about the trees?
Feeling empathy.
Mm-hmm. Okay, feeling empathy, sure. Feeling the life inside the trees,
mm-hmm.
and crying when they're gone. Not just for the trees. Recognizing what?
Mother Earth and the energy of Mother Earth.
Yes, for the earth, for the trees, and who else?
Well, for the interconnectedness of all creatures within that habitat.
Exactly, for the habitat, because when you cut down the trees, you change the habitat, right? Now
Mhm.
who has to look for a place to live? It's the squirrels and the mice and everybody else involved. Gee, was there a nest in that tree? Um, was it an important landmark for someone? Did
Mhm.
they need that? So yes, there's interconnectedness. Also, when a tree dies, how do the other trees around it feel? Think like the Avatar movie, right? Where they're all connected. They're connected underground. And has anybody read let's see, there was a book that was popular in the 70s. It was called The Secret Life of Plants. I'll mention that here. I don't remember the author. The Secret Life of Plants. And they did experiments with plants, hooking these plants up to equipment that was sensitive to energy. And if a person walked in the room who was threatening to kill the plant, to cut the leaves or to kill the plant or harm it in some way, it registered on the electronic equipment. And the plant remembered who that person was. So if that person came in again, even without the intent, it knew who it was, and it registered on the equipment. So if cutting down a tree might have an effect on the other trees around it, do you think maybe?
Yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah, just based on that experiment, and I'm sure there are other experiments they've done since, but this is landmark stuff back in the 70s, The Secret Life of Plants. So if the plants are sensitive to each other and we in their environment are walking around saying, I hear you, I see you, I feel you, I can feel your pain. So that's part of that person's magic, that empathy. A strong connection to nature, and perhaps being even an advocate. Would that person perhaps be an advocate for wildlife, that they care about that? Might they be the kind of person who would not cut down a tree? Or perhaps even plant trees? Would that be part of this person's magic? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And what about that person's medicine? What's their skills and knowledge?
Helping to produce life.
Say that again?
Helping to produce life.
Helping to produce life. Yes, and be a protector, of course. What about just the knowledge of natural habitats?
Of recognizing the value.
Yes, of course, of recognizing the value that each plant has, that each tree has, and the value of the birds and the value of the interconnectedness. So that kind of knowledge is actually a person's medicine. So good job. Very good. Let's go on to story number 3. Are you okay with this format? Do you like this kind of format?
Yeah.
Yeah? Good. All right. Story number 3. I've always liked to garden. In fact, when I was in 2nd grade, my teacher supported my recess activities by giving me a small garden trowel. I used it to dig around the plants in front of the schoolyard. I explored every plant around the schoolyard and discovered plant galls filled with spores, mushrooms and moss, worms and bugs. I followed the ants as they made their way with crumbs from student snacks. I tasted clover leaves and discovered teaberry leaves in the wooded areas. So we're back to this child again. What kind of magic does this child have?
Probably, again, the energy of being connected to the earth and all that it provides and all that it is.
Great. A connection to the earth, again, connection to nature. Wonderful. Now, what do you think other kids were doing at the same time this child was exploring the plants and animals and tasting clover leaves? What do you think other kids were doing?
Playing.
Yeah, possibly playing, right? Maybe had a soccer ball or on the swings or something. Yeah. So what's different between this child and the other kids who are playing?
To me, it's
not much.
The exploration, that wanting to know more.
Yeah, that curiosity, and maybe even breaking away from the norm. Because the norm in this case, or the usual in this case, would be kids running around doing the swings or playing ball or, doing whatever they're doing actively. But this kid is out checking out the plants and discovering the galls and watching the ants. A little different. So breaking away from the norm, maybe showing that being different is okay. Using observation skills would also be part of that medicine that's happening. I think you guys are getting good at this. All right, story number 4. I'm a fan of music, but not all music, and not all the time. I can't stand loud noises and noisy music. It feels harsh to me. Lately, however, I prefer silence over music, unless it's meditative music. I find that when my mind is quiet, I get the best ideas. Magic? Medicine?
Intuition, maybe building intuition through going inward.
Right, building intuition, becoming more sensitive to intuition. When the mind is quiet, I get the best ideas, right? Being open to that rather than thinking and, going into the think tank, just being quiet and allowing those ideas to come through. That's excellent. Any other thoughts on that? Is this person sensitive to vibration?
Right.
Sound frequencies, right? So sounds are different, whether you're speaking them or hearing them spoken, whether you're listening to music that is, classical music or heavy metal music or rock music. They're all different. Or what I like is the solfeggio sounds now, the ones that feel harmonious to the body. And so if you're sensitive to the vibration that you can hear, you might find that you prefer one kind of sound over another because it makes you feel better. It's more in harmony with your body. So that person's magic would be a sensitivity to sound or sound frequencies. What about spirituality? Would you say this person is spiritual?
Yes.
Right? Meditative music or preferring quiet. What about open to the divine, open to divine guidance?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. So all of these would be that person's magic. And their medicine? What might be their medicine?
And just listening, being able to listen to themselves.
Exactly. Listening is a skill. We have to practice listening to be good at it. Also, meditation. Meditation is a skill, right? People have to practice meditation to be good at it. So these are skills. These are part of the medicine that that person would have. If they're good at listening and choosing when they want to listen to something, or if they want to listen to something, or perhaps they don't want to listen to anything. They want just to have a quiet time. That's part of their medicine. Great. Okay.
Also trusting what they hear.
Sorry?
Also trusting what they hear when they're listening inward.
Yes, trusting what they hear. Excellent. So when a person trusts what they hear, trusts the idea that they get, then they are working more with the spirituality of who they are. They're trusting their guides. Therefore, what are the guides going to do as a result? They're going to give more.
Give more information.
Absolutely. You're going to, any person who is meditative and receives these ideas and then acts on these ideas is going to find that they're going to get more ideas. They're going to get really good at it. It's like fine-tuning the radio to the exact station that you want. It's like, oh, I found the right one. I'm going to listen to this, and I'm going to hear exactly what I need to know. Perfect. Good job. Story number 5. I love to sew, craft, paint, cook, build, and write. In fact, I'm always happiest when I'm doing something I love. It's fulfilling, and I love to give my creations to people who appreciate them. What's that person's magic?
Being creative.
Yeah, creativity. Exactly, making things.
Process.
Yes, trusting that process as well. Excellent. Anything else? Is this person artistic?
Yeah.
Yeah. Generous, giving away things, kind, yeah. Motivated. Could this person be motivated?
Right, because you have to get off the couch to do it.
Yes, exactly. And don't forget, this person's always happiest when doing something that he or she loves. Yeah? So connecting the happy emotion to the doing activity is one of the most important features of magic. When you are doing something you love and you're happy that you're doing it, then you are really honoring that magic that's in you. It's fulfilling. And then what happens? Then they give it away, right? There's generosity, there's connection, there's the love of making things. This person sees a need and fills it, right? When, you see a need for something, you're going to cook something or build something, you're seeing a need for it. And this person is also a doer and a helper.
And I also see that, you're doing something that you love, but you're also gaining additional love by giving it to someone who loves it. So there's that exponential growth of love.
Oh, absolutely. It just, it multiplies. It really does. Excellent. You guys are good. Okay, let's go on to our last story. At meetings, I'm always the one to offer assistance, lead the discussion, or generate ideas. I love bringing new ideas to my group and teaching new skills that will help everyone become more skilled. People appreciate my suggestions and support. So here we have a business setting. What do you think that person's magic is in the business arena?
Teaching. Teaching mainly, I like.
Is teaching the magic or the medicine, or both?
Let's see. Probably both.
I would say both, because you have to have skills to teach.
Right.
And then being able to pass that information along is a medicine.
And some people are just naturally good at teaching. Yeah. Yes, you have to be trained to be a teacher. You get certified as a teacher for various things. But some people, you see this in kids, right? They're showing somebody how to do something, how to jump rope, how to ride the bike, how to draw a flower, right? So they're teaching naturally because it brings joy to their heart. It's part of their magic for who they are. And this last point here is something magic or medicine, or is it both? What we really want to focus on is if a person has a natural ability, a gift or talent, and it can be expanded, it can be refined, it can be bigger and better, then maybe some training would be appropriate from other people who have those skills. So your magic can be stronger because of how you work with it, how you deal with your medicine, your practice, the way you live. All right, so becoming a healer. Last time we talked about what it is to be a healer, recognizing the signs of being a healer. Living your life with joy and peace means that you're using your gifts and talents, your magic. If you're feeling sad, resentful, or unfulfilled, you may be suppressing your magic. Or perhaps you haven't yet accepted your magic. Do you know anybody like that? Do you know anybody who feels sad, resentful, unfulfilled? Do you feel like they're really living their life to the fullest? Maybe they haven't yet accepted their magic, their gifts. Maybe they're not enjoying their gifts that they've been given.
Do you think that's because they don't recognize that?
It could be. You know, the other thing, too, is that some people are told that they don't have an ability. They're not good at something, right? They, you know, that they have poor handwriting, or they're not artistic, or they're not beautiful, or they're not good at, fill in the blank. So if they're told that, do you think they might believe it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, especially if they're kids, right? Especially if it's an adult telling a child. Anybody with authority. What about a friend even? What if a friend tells you, oh gosh, you should never wear pink. It looks terrible on you. Right? And you believe them?
Yeah.
Yeah. But you really like pink. That's why you're wearing pink. And they're telling you, no, you shouldn't wear pink. It looks terrible on you.
And I'll make this quick. I had a manager several years ago say, no one will ever take you seriously because you're a young-looking blonde, and I'm almost 50. And that has stuck with me for a long time.
Are you still holding on to that?
Not anymore.
Good for you.
But that's just fairly recent that I've finally said, you know what? I'm just going to be who I am and express my thoughts, my opinions, but I found that's where I was really stuck. But
interesting.
That one statement.
Yeah. Now, do you think that's the only one statement you've ever had in your life that affected anything about the rest of your life?
Probably not, but that's the one that I can remember the most when I became a professional. In a biological field dominated by males. And that one stuck with me the most. Because in any setting, I always had that in the back of my head going, oh, don't speak up. Nobody's going to, no one's going to take you for, it's going to respect you because you're a young-looking blonde.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah. I witnessed this myself with my own son. When he was in second grade, his second grade teacher told me, I'm sure she told him too, that his handwriting was terrible and that he was not artistic. Okay? Yeah? She told me that. She told him that, I'm sure. And some years later, when we were doing some creative projects, it was called Destination Imagination. It's all kid-driven. The adult is supervising, is, offering some coaching or teaching of skills, but not solving the problem. And so my son's creating this interesting masterpiece out of, I don't know, goop and stuff he made, three-dimensional. And he sat there and he said to me, Mom, I am artistic. He held on to it all those years. He said, I am artistic, just not in that drawing kind of way. But what I did was I took out a picture that he had drawn when he was 4 years old. He had gotten down on the floor, nose to nose with our dog, and started drawing a picture. And it was a little, about the size of $50 is what he started with. And I thought, oh, that's the dog's head. He's going to put some eyes and a nose and mouth in it. No, that was the nose of the dog. That was the first thing he saw. He drew the nose first, and then he drew the rest of the dog all around it, the ears and the eyes and everything, filled the whole page. But that teacher told him he was not artistic. Yeah. So who told you something that you believed that is interfering with your magic? So one of the things I'll be asking you to do is to make a list of your magic. And sharing your magic with others becomes a way of offering healing energies. You use your skills, your knowledge, tools, and materials to step into the role of healer. And we are all healers. Now I have an example here I wanted to mention. Let's say you've done a lot of research on antioxidants. Everybody knows what antioxidants are?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay.
Yes.
So you love the chemistry of what antioxidants do in the body. And to bring this energy to your family, you learn how to prepare nourishing foods that are rich in antioxidants. Smoothies, vegetable dishes, and fresh fruits. And you also research supplements high in antioxidants. So your magic is in the delicious recipes you prepare for your family and in the supplements you intuitively know to purchase. Your medicine is that you have taken this knowledge of antioxidants and incorporated it into what you do and how you live. So I'd like you to take a look at your day, each day or maybe a few times a week, and think about what is your magic as you are going about doing something. What is the skill you are bringing to the world? What is your medicine? Now, does it mean that a person who prepares food is a healer? Of course. Yes, of course. If the food is prepared with the intention of providing wholesome nutrition, yeah, of course. How about an English teacher? Does an English teacher, would you say an English teacher could be a healer?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah? What about a store clerk or a bus driver?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, because each person has their own magic, their own gifts and talents, their own way of interacting with the world, and the skills that they have brought forward in order to bring their magic to the world. So what gifts and talents, what magic do people in these professions bring to the world, and what's their medicine? Well, maybe an English teacher is a very clear speaker. Maybe that English teacher is organized and really sees the spark in each child. That's that person's magic. And their medicine is their skills in teaching, their skills in reaching each individual child to bring out the best in them. So be thinking of those things as you go about your week. And I have another question. Does a person's profession limit or enhance their magic?
I think if they love their job, it could definitely enhance it. And if they don't enjoy their job, they might not recognize it.
Exactly. Not everybody is in the right profession.
Right.
Yeah, there are some people who hate their job.
Mm-hmm.
Or, maybe there's something about their job that they hate. It's not the whole thing, but they haven't perhaps recognized or accepted what their magic is, their gifts and talents. Maybe they've been stifled to a point of not being able to bring their gifts and talents to the world, to their job. Now, how does your magic intensify and strengthen your medicine? And you don't have to answer that right now, but you can if you like to. How does your magic intensify and strengthen your medicine? I'll just leave you with that thought. Now I have on the screen, if you can't see it because you're calling in, there's a picture of a butterfly. Let's look at the magic in this butterfly here for a moment. Butterflies are known for pretty much one thing, right? What is the one thing that everybody focuses on when they think of butterflies?
The cocoon.
Mm-hmm.
That came out of.
Yes. Because they spend their life in different forms, right? They have the egg stage, then they hatch, and they're this wormy-like thing, this larval stage. They transition during that beautiful cocoon stage to become the adult. And then their diet is different, they look different, their mouth is different, they've got legs, they've got wings, things that they didn't have before. Big metamorphosis. And this butterfly is sort of the standing symbol of change, of metamorphosis. So why I brought this out today, this picture of a butterfly, is to ask you to relate to the butterfly in noticing the magic that's in here. The butterfly never denies its magic. It's taken for granted that this will happen, and it will live its life accordingly. It'll just, eat and eat until it doesn't eat anymore, and then it forms the cocoon, and that's where that whole mush thing happens. It turns into mush, and it restructures its whole body. And that might be what we do. As healers, we might have to restructure how we do things, how we feel about things, and how we relate to the world. Kind of like what you said when you were saying that you're in a male-dominated profession and you are a young-looking blonde. Well, you realize that, hey, there's some power in here. I'm going to step up and be that powerful person. I'm going to hold my own. There was a metamorphosis that happened there. That was a beautiful piece of magic that you were experiencing. Now, I wanted to mention about miracles because I did have miracles in the title here, and I was hoping to spend a little more time on miracles, and then I realized, I think that's another webinar. We're going to spend the next webinar talking about miracles, and remember that miracles are normal. These are everyday occurrences. We can find the miracle in everything. So we'll be talking about that more next time. So your personal story begins with a journey of discovering your gifts and healing abilities. Your shamanic ancestry shows in the suffering and trauma you've survived to reach the point of emergence, just like the butterfly. Now you're ready to hone your skills and grow into the healer you were meant to be. Let's see. The best way to reach me, everybody knows how to reach me, but for people who haven't been in touch with me recently, you can connect with me on my website, secondnaturehealing.com. You can send me an email, rosemary@secondnaturehealing.com. And know that we do have classes for every level of Reiki. And my daughter, Michelle, and I are going to be introducing our new integrative program called Illumination Reiki. and this is going to be happening in January. At the end of January, we'll have a launch in our new space over in the Goose Hollow area of Portland in Vibrant Studios, and that's when we'll be inviting you to really experience all of the different things we're going to have to offer. We are really excited about this, and we're very glad that you are with us to learn and grow and then share. So if you are not already registered on my website, secondnaturehealing.com/webinar.html, we'll get you those downloads and recordings for the webinar. And I just wanted to thank you for being here tonight. Is there anything you'd like to say before we sign off?
No, I enjoyed it. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you so much for being here. And everybody, it was really fun to have you. And whoops, my screen is gone. Let's see. There we go. I'm going to end the recording now.